and welcome to Light for Life. If you are returning to our channel, thank you. We value and appreciate you. Our aim is to shine a bright light on your inner splendor and assist to connect you to your magnificence via what we intend to be enlightened sharing, potentially educational and hopefully entertaining information, as well as encouragement for new perspectives. If you are new here, you are most welcome. We do hope that you will find our content highly beneficial and enjoyable. I am Liz. I'm a Science of Mind practitioner and a teacher of various healing modalities applicable to all aspects of the self and this life.
And I am Lori. I am a holistic wellness researcher and educator. Welcome to Connections with Liss and Lori. We use this space to offer our perspective regarding multiple different topics that we certainly hope you find inspiring. Today, Liss and I are going to explore our perspectives regarding fear. Fear. Fear does not have to be scary. What a concept, right? Fear in and of itself is, dare I say, a little bit of an illusion. But the minute that we hear that word, it triggers a response, right? And in a way, it's meant to. Fear is meant to trigger a response. It's a primal reaction. It's an instinct that we all have. And to some degree, it keeps us safe. It keeps us out of harm's way. Hundreds of years ago, when we still lived off of the land, it kept us alive because fear can be a very strong protective response. But sometimes fear can really be detrimental when it's just this concept of fear and we don't even really know what it is that we're afraid of. We just have this pending doom and gloom that kind of consumes our mind and our emotions and our bodies quite often. That's when fear isn't so helpful and can actually be damaging in a way. It can really bring down our frequency, our vibration, our health, our mental state. It can even bring us down spiritually. And when we really start spiraling down and down and down and down, it can be a little tough to pull ourselves back up. So I'm actually really looking forward to exploring this with you, because I know in the end we usually arrive kind of at a similar place, but I'm really curious to hear what you have to say about fear, and sometimes how it's great and sometimes how it's not so great.
Well, the first thing I would say, Lori, is that there are two kinds of fear. And the first kind is rational.
Yeah.
Rational fear is when we actually should be afraid. And we should make choices and take actions in our best interest to preserve and protect ourselves. So that is fear in its positive expression. Fear in its negative expression is some form of irrational fear.
Yeah, absolutely.
And irrational fear is usually something that we've built up in our minds that's not actually true, something that's not real. An irrational fear is something that we've projected into a future that doesn't even exist yet. An irrational fear is just a worry, which can become a very severe form of paranoia. An irrational fear is anxiety that doesn't understand that it actually is bigger than the thing that's being afraid of at the moment. So irrational fear is where the problem lies. So the first thing to do when you find yourself in fear is ask yourself, is this rational? And bring your reasoning frontal cortex capabilities to the moment and ask yourself, is it rational that I'm afraid of this thing? Because most of the time it's an irrational fear that is playing itself out. Because fear that is rational is amazingly calm.
Hmm.
Fear that is rational slows time down. Fear that is rational engages all the systems of your body to act and act now.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's strong because it's protective.
Yeah.
So fear that bites nails, fear that huddles in a corner, fear that shakes and sweats, fear that pulls its hair out, fear that's all like this. That's usually the irrational version of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I love that breakdown of what fear actually is, which is false evidence appearing real.
Mm-hmm.
So we buy into the false evidence, we make it real for ourselves, and then we're afraid of it.
Mm-hmm.
So from an emotional spectrum point of view, absolutely everything that you could ever put on a spectrum of opposites is coming from a root core that is one of two things. It is either fear or it's love.
Mm-hmm.
So happiness is an expression of love. Depression is an expression of fear. Freedom is an expression of love. Jealousy is an expression of fear. It doesn't matter which positive or negative emotion we're thinking of in terms of a spectrum. At their heart, they're coming from love or fear.
Yeah.
So what is it at the center of that fulcrum that would undo all those seeming opposites? And that is understanding who we are at our core, understanding our power, and why we truly have nothing to be afraid of other than fear itself. Because nothing can harm me if I don't let it. Nothing. Absolutely everything in existence needs my permission. It needs my consent, whether conscious or not. It needs my cooperation. Absolutely nothing can harm me if I don't let it. And as an aside here, for all the people who are going to come up for genuine victims, I am not talking about people who are genuinely victimized,
Right.
but truly distorted energy in some form of an attack.
Right.
That is not what I'm referring to here. I'm referring to me in my choices and my decisions in my everyday life, with the minutiae of the millions of little things that I confront and encounter. And how many of those don't we choose to make ourselves smaller than? How many of those don't we choose to feel powerless over and afraid of? And that's never necessary. That's never necessary. So if my car explodes and I'm afraid, must I run out of my house? Yes, of course. I'm not going to sit there and try and be bigger than an exploding car, for heaven's sake. That is a rational fear. But if I'm going to refuse to go grocery shopping because what if my car explodes?
Right.
That's an irrational fear
Mm-hmm.
that I have to recognize I can't keep myself imprisoned by.
Mm-hmm. And let's talk a little bit about patterns of fear, where they start trending into obsessive compulsive behaviors. You know, the person who had the car explode once is now forever afraid of the car exploding. And that pattern of fear that can get developed, and the repetitive behaviors that can develop. How do people pull themselves out of those patterns and bring themselves back into that choice and that consent and that willingness to participate?
Well, the thing is, when we're talking about something like that, it's not just a pattern of fear. It's not just behavioral. It's actually a trauma response.
Mm-hmm.
So that imprint is deeply embedded
Mm-hmm.
in the cells, in the tissues where all the issues are.
Yeah.
So that is a trauma response. And that is going to require intervention to actually process. A small handful of people can do that for themselves. Most people need professionals to help them with that because it is severe and it is very serious. But by the same token, a phobia is the easiest thing in the world to cure. exposure therapy with a cognitive behavior therapist, you need 3 sessions and you can be over a phobia you've had your whole life. It's one of the easiest things. Psychologists love it when people have phobias because it's one of the things that they can fix. So there is always hope.
Yeah.
So to sit in a situation where you have a phobia for something, and it's literally just a behavioral habit that you are so terrified of this thing that you won't confront it, won't do anything about it, and it's not a deeply traumatic response, then honestly, a couple of sessions of cognitive behavior therapy, some exposure therapy, which you can do for yourself if it's not a trauma response, and you can be free of that thing. Why suffer for 25 years unnecessarily? It's one of the easiest things to shift.
Fascinating. I will have to work on my spider phobia.
Well, we never have to like them, do we?
I don't know about spider exposure therapy, but I will see what I can do. Oh, all kidding
Well,
aside,
it's
it
like,
is,
little one, I don't want to kill you. So please just
yes.
stay over there. I know
Mhm.
you eat mosquitoes and I love you for that. So please just stay over there. Don't come near me. And then, like, angels shield and protect me from spider over there.
Well, and I've
It's a
even
stretch for me to say that I like and love them. Yeah.
but I have even gotten to the point where I can put a glass over them and put a little piece of cardboard under them and I carry them outside. I have gotten to that point. But all kidding aside,
Okay.
fear is an opportunity, right? Fear can be an opportunity to step outside of. I know it is not rational for me to be afraid of spiders. And where I live, we do not have spiders the size of a car. We have very teeny tiny spiders that are not poisonous. So I know it is not rational for me to be afraid of them. They can't do anything to me. So it is an opportunity for me to overcome something that honestly is a little silly. But transitioning from a spider that sat down beside her to, okay, this is silly. I don't need to be afraid of spiders anymore, can take a minute. And I guess I just really have to embrace the fact that it is an opportunity. It's a challenge to step outside of that fear and step into that appreciation for what spiders can do, or
Yeah.
literally
But
anything.
the question is always, is it going to be worth the work?
Mhm.
Is it worth your time, focus, energy, and attention? And the answer to that question is, to what extent does it disrupt your life?
Yes.
If you have a phobia of a spider and you've got to deal with a little spider with some sense of a phobia every 3 months, then no big deal. That's not exactly something you have to tick off of your I must grow past this list.
Yes.
But if you have a phobia that is preventing you from living the life that your heart wants to live,
Yes.
then that deserves your focus, your energy, and your attention, because you deserve to be free of the fear that is holding you back. And you can't live to the fullness of your heart's desire if you stay stuck in that pattern. And if the phobia that we are referring to and the fear that we are referring to is deeply trauma-based, then even more so. Traumatized living is awful living.
Mm-hmm.
It's 10% of living, if that. And to love ourselves is to do whatever it takes to free ourselves of that. And it can be done.
Mm-hmm.
It can be done. And that's when my heart beats really, really loudly, is for people to be free to experience their power. And we don't have to allow fear to control us. And the problem is that fear causes us to contract, right? Because love is the expansion into more of the truth of who we are, more of our power, more of our light. Fear does the exact opposite of that. It makes us smaller. It pulls in and it contracts, and it tells us we are powerless and helpless and hopeless even. And that is never, ever, ever true. So expanding beyond the little self, becoming so much more of the truth of who we are, requires us just to have that bravery to recognize, where am I keeping myself small and why am I doing that?
Mm.
Why am I doing that? Because it's never necessary to.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a thought there, but I lost it. You were talking about getting lost in the fear, and I was thinking we do tend to repeat that false evidence that does seem and feel very real. And I mean, I can speak to this. I did spend many years shrunken in fear and had no idea how to get myself out of it. And it really was these concepts and these ideas and these beliefs about a thing that did keep me almost somewhat paralyzed in a way. And I wasn't expansive. I wasn't feeling abundant love. I wasn't feeling abundant joy. But that doesn't mean it has to be a permanent state. And I think, if anything, the reason why we are doing this and the reason why we are connecting is to really shine a light on the fact that whatever it is that people are experiencing, whatever it is, doesn't have to be a permanent state. It doesn't have to continue any longer. It is
Absolutely. I suffered most of my life with severe anxiety, Lori. I mean, I used to rattle like leaves on a tree.
Yeah.
It was too terrible. I had the severest anxiety as a result of very bad childhood abuse.
Yeah.
To the point where I was so afraid of even potential violence that somebody just raising their voice
Yes.
was enough for me to shake for 8 hours.
Yes.
Even if they weren't in the room with me,
Mhm.
raising their voice over the phone. So
Yes.
I share that to show how much hope there is, because that anxiety riddled version of me
Mhm.
needed to understand just one thing. And that was that she was not the powerless, helpless, trapped little girl who endured all that terrible violence. I wasn't that little girl anymore. I'm grown up, can get up and walk out, can call the cops on you. I can do 100 other things to protect myself. I am not that powerless little girl anymore. And the day that I actually realized that and embodied it, to go back to our previous episode, the day that I realized that and embodied it, anxiety was gone. I didn't have to swallow a pill. I didn't have to do a process. Just like that, the moment I realized I was no longer a helpless little girl, trapped, powerless, and stuck, the anxiety left. So all that was an attempt to achieve was to shake off the false evidence.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. The body's brilliant way of attempting to
Yes,
shake it off and reset,
yes,
just like
yes,
animals do in the wild. They go in a
yeah,
quiet space and they shake and they reset.
yeah, exactly.
Oh, yes. Brilliant.
It is. All of life serves our freedom. All of life serves our power. All of life and every experience and every manifestation comes into our lives to show us what's missing.
Mhm.
And what's missing is always an aspect of our power, an aspect of the truth, an aspect of love. And that's why fear is just a shadow. It has no actual substance. There are very few rational fears. There are very few actual existential threats. Very few, compared to the millions of irrational fears that we could potentially connect to and make true for us and imprison ourselves by.
Mhm. Yes. It really is a prison, isn't it? And it's an illusion.
Yeah. And you know, what's that saying? 90% of the things that we're afraid of never happen.
Mhm.
So how much energy, creative potential, joy, love, happiness, energy haven't we wasted worrying about things that never happen? Using our imagination to create what we don't want. And then usually what does manifest is something that we don't always connect. I spent the whole day yesterday worrying about money. And today I have a fender bender in traffic. So I think, oh, I was already worried about money and now I've got to pay for a new fender. Well, yeah, you spent the whole day worrying about money. So what did you create? You created more money worries. Ta-da!
Yeah.
Well done. Powerful creator.
Yeah.
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 So let's not do that. To the best of our ability, let's not do that anymore.
I love your analogies. Voila! Oh, I love that. And when we are looking at a fear and we feel all of this anticipatory anxiety, knowing that we're going to face this fear and we're going to work through it. And then we look back and we go, seriously, I was afraid of that. How silly. Because it's false. And when we call our own bluff, we realize it's kind of silly. Our fears are kind of silly.
Honey,
They
we're
have
both
no
sitting
basis.
here right now. We're both sitting here right now doing something that I guarantee not even a year ago, both of us were terrified of.
Yes. No way would I have done this a year ago. No way.
Exactly. Exactly. The first time someone told me they wanted me to do live videos, I was like,
Shazam, voila.
yeah. And now I love it. I look forward to these. This is just a conversation with my dear and darling friend, and I look forward to them so much.
As do I. As do I. Thank you for connecting with Light for Life. If you appreciate reminders, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel so you can receive those notifications. If you would like to work with one of us, you can find our contact information in the About section of this channel.
Yes, thank you for connecting with Light for Life. Please share your insights, your questions, and your comments with us in the comment section below. We value your feedback. And we really hope that we will see you for our next episode. We upload one every Thursday. Until then, bye-bye and be joyful. Until we connect again, we send you love and light.